Hello everybody, BigPlanes here, and after an almost 6-month building hiatus, I finally have another update video for you on the American Airlines DC-10 project. Now before I get too deep into this video, I want to give a shout out to all of my patrons who are supporting the channel over on Patreon. Thank you to everybody on Patreon who has stuck with it for all of these months. I really appreciate your support, and if you want to go support the channel on Patreon to see some early access stuff and to help the channel out, I will leave a link to that in the description below. So yes, finally, another update video on the DC-10. I'm sure a lot of you guys were beginning to think that this project had been canceled or that I gave up on it, but that is far, far from the case. So I've made a lot of progress on this thing since you last saw it. Some of that progress is visible and some of that progress is not visible, but I'm going to talk about all of it in this update video, so stay tuned. So I'm going to just dive right into it. The first, most obvious thing that I've done since the last update video is the nose. So for those of you who have been keeping track with this project, the last update video basically had me finishing the wings, right? And then getting it all the way up to right about here. I had the base of the nose done, but I still needed to actually build the nose. And for those of you who remember, I was still having issues with the landing gear, more particularly getting to the landing gear to retract automatically. And that was really a pain point for me. It took many weeks to try to figure that out. I did eventually figure it out. I'm not going to demonstrate it in this video because obviously the plane is sitting upright. It's going to be a little hard to demonstrate it, but I will try to explain how I changed it. And of course I will have very detailed demonstrations, and I'll show even how it works in the final video. So stay tuned for that. But yes, so I've completed the nose and I've got all of the landing gear to all work correctly, the doors and everything. So I'm just going to get right into it. So the nose, I'm just going to start with this because this is more the exciting thing, at least from the visual perspective. So yes, the nose is done. I really was limited a little bit about with some of the pieces that are available in metallic silver, and I had to stretch it a little bit. The only parts on this entire airplane that are not authentic Lego pieces, although they are really, but they're not in that color, are these two quarter round curve slope things here. Everything else on this is a real authentic metallic silver Lego piece. Unfortunately, these are not. These were professionally chromed because those parts are just so important to the front of the plane. If they do eventually come out with those, I will swap them out like I haven't done in planes in the past. But other than that, everything else on this is a legitimate, authentic metallic silver Lego piece. So I just thought I'd get that disclaimer out of the way early. I tend to be a Lego purist to a certain degree, except I also understand that if I want the plane to actually look good, then sometimes the rules have to be bent just a little bit. But in this case, I don't view it as that much of an infraction just because the plane just it looks so much better with those two pieces there. But otherwise, yes, this is coming along very nicely. I'm pretty much done with the nose at this point. I'm still waffling back and forth between whether these windows here should be in translucent clear or translucent black. I initially intended to make them in trans black, but I didn't have the parts to do that since some of the parts have been lost in transit. So I did order parts to make this in translucent black, but the trans clear is actually almost starting to grow on me a little bit, so maybe you guys can leave in the comment section below whether you think the windshield should be in translucent clear or translucent black. There's also, just to note, some parts here that still need to be swapped, like all these gray slopes are going to get swapped with black ones, and just some small things here and there that still need to be swapped out with this. So it's not 100% complete, but more or less it's done. So coming along down to the bottom here, you can see that, look at that. Tried to get the gaps as close together as I could here. And just to give you a little bit of a sneak peek with the landing gear there, yes, all of the doors do open and close automatically. All of the doors, including the two large ones up here in the front and the two little ones right there. The support back here is temporary while I have no tail on the aircraft. So yes, that's all very exciting. I'm looking forward to showing that to you guys in the final video. You can see here that I also did finally get the printed parts back from my guy who does that, so they look very nice. I got the DC-10 luxury liner logo on the front there, as well as the American Airlines logo on the top. For those of you who've been following the channel for a while, you'll remember that I had an American Airlines 757, and unfortunately that plane has been scrapped. For those of you who are wondering, it was hard. It was a hard decision, but the plane had some issues, and also the parts from that plane have gone towards helping to make this one possible. So that was a hard decision, but I decided that it just needed to be done because I think this plane is more important. This plane should take priority, and I'm so far very happy with how this plane has been looking so far. So yeah, the nose is coming along nicely. It's pretty much done at this point. Obviously some small things here and there will continue to be changed and added and whatever, but at this point the next thing that I will be working on will be the tail. But I'm going to really quickly talk about the landing gear because this was really a pain point. This took almost a week of just trial and error to eventually figure out. So it's not overly visible in this picture, but the way I have this configured, and if you go back and look at some of my previous videos, you can see this for yourself. I have two motors in the central wing box area that control. One motor controls the landing gear bogies themselves going in and out, and the second motor controls the doors that open and close on those landing gear bogies. And the reason it has to be done like that is because the doors and bogies are on different sequences. I'll try to get down here and show this to you the best I can. I'll just set the camera down so you can take a look at the landing gear. But the doors and bogies are on different sequences. So obviously when these retract, the doors need to open first, the bogies need to close in, and then the doors need to close back again. So that cannot be controlled by one motor, at least not easily. It's much simpler to control it via two motors, and I'm using the Lego powered up system for this, so I am able to program it in the app, since it's Bluetooth, how long I want those motors to run and for what speed I want them to run at. So that's been really helpful to actually get this all to work. But the issue with that is that the battery box only has 2 ports on it. And the problem I was having up here was that I basically ran a really long axle from the motor that controls the bogies all the way up to the front to control the nose gear. And the motor has enough torque to retract the gear, all the gears, and to open these doors here. Because these doors, this is getting a little complicated, these doors are on a passive system. Basically what it means is these are just on rubber bands and they want to automatically just close naturally. So when this gear goes in, these just close behind it naturally. The problem was these larger doors, because I had those on rubber bands, or at least the plan was to have those doors on rubber bands initially. But the problem I was having is that the motor did not have enough torque, did not have enough power to actually open that at that point. It would just seize up because the motor could not open all of these and force this one down. This is using a worm gear, so it has a lot of torque too. It did not have enough power to force this nose gear strut down and open the 2 little doors on rubber bands and open the 2 large doors. So I kept running into that bottleneck with the power of the motor. So what I eventually just did is I added a second motor up in the nose, which was very difficult because, as you know, there's a below deck galley in the front, so I don't really have a lot of room. I'm trying to keep everything as compact and neat inside this airframe as I can. So I had to find room basically to add another motor, and here's the kicker. Because it's on the same channel as the one back here, it has to have the same gear reduction ratio. So I also had to fit a gearbox in the front here, in addition to a motor. All of that needed to fit in this compact underside here, with most of the room already being taken up by the below deck galley. So you can really see the challenge, how it sort of came to be. And like I said previously in this video, I will pull the bottom of this plane off and show all the gears working together on the final video. That will be something that I'm very, very certain to do, because I want everybody to see the immense complexity that's going on down there to get this to work. But long story short is that those 2 larger doors are now on their own motor, which is great for simplicity, but not great for like everything else in this. But it ended up working out, and now all of the landing gear can be controlled via the Powered Up app and commanded to retract and extend exactly like how they do on the real airplane. So this is really exciting for me. I still need to change some of the program to make it run a little smoother, but that's basically software at this point. So I will have that on the final video. I'm really looking forward to it. Again, I can't really demonstrate it right now because it's sitting upright on a table, but this will be probably in the next week or two. I will have a video out on that showing how that works. So yeah, that's basically what I've done since the last update. A lot of work, a lot of man hours put into this. It may not be overly apparent from the outside, but basically everything forward of right there is done now. It's done, which is huge for me because there's some things in this plane that are just so unbelievably complex, even compared to what I've done in the past, that the fact that they're finally done is just so nice. So what we're looking at from here at this point is the tail. And the tail is thankfully not super long on this plane. It's only, in fact, this blueprint is not directly under the plane. You can see the engines aren't lining up. So the tail's actually shorter than it even looks on here. But of course the tail also has that iconic number 2 engine in the tail. So that is probably what the next update's going to be about. I'm hoping shortly after Christmas, so probably a few days from now. So yes, that's the next update. I'm planning on moving very quickly with this. I'm hoping that by maybe the sorry about that. By maybe the first week of January, I will have this done, and maybe by the second week of January, I will have the final video out for this plane. So I was hoping to have this done by the end of the year, which it doesn't look like we're going to make that target just because the sheer amount of complexity going on with the landing gear and the fact that some of the bricklink orders have been a little slower than I would have originally wanted. So yeah, that's going to be it for this one. I'm super excited about this project. The project is not dead. In fact, it's very much alive, and I am actually planning on finishing it in the next couple of weeks here. So stick with it. I'm going to have some more update videos on this, and I think this is going to be, just my opinion, this is going to be one of the most beautiful planes I've done to date. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to bringing you more videos on this very soon. That's it for this one, and bye for now.